Okay, be honest. Have you ever been on a date that just went completely sideways?
You know those dates that you just want to, like, forget ever happened?
The kind of stories you tell your friends and they just can't believe it?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
come on, really?
Exactly.
That really happened to you?
We've all had them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the best dating stories, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yes.
We asked you guys to share your awkward, funny, and sometimes unbelievable dating experiences.
That's right.
And we're going to unpack them together.
Because you know what?
Um,
Even in those, like, super awkward moments, those cringeworthy moments,
right.
we can learn so much about ourselves,
Yeah.
about other people,
Yeah.
and about this crazy thing we call dating,
Yeah.
this dance of human connection.
It's true. We're not just here for the laughs, although I'm sure there will be plenty of those.
Oh, yeah.
But we're here to uncover some of those hidden gems of insight that might help us navigate the dating world with a little more confidence and a lot more humor.
So think of this deep dive as your guide to decoding those dating moments that leave you scratching your head thinking, what just happened?
So first up, we're going to tackle those oops moments.
Yeah.
You know, the ones where you're trying your best to make a good impression.
Trying to put your best foot forward.
Right.
You got it all planned.
You think you've got it all figured out.
And then something,
It's totally unexpected.
yeah, something unexpected just throws you completely off course.
There's a wrench in the works.
It reminds us that even with the best of intentions, things don't always go according to plan.
That's for sure.
Like, imagine you're all dressed up for a fancy date, feeling like $1,000,000.
Yeah.
You get to the restaurant, you sit down,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly you realize your shirt is inside out.
Oh, no.
And not just inside out, the tags are still sticking out.
No.
This actually happened to one of our listeners.
I can feel the secondhand embarrassment already. Right. It's like a scene straight out of a sitcom.
Yeah, it is.
But here's the thing.
What?
This listener didn't let it ruin their night.
Good.
They owned the awkwardness.
Yes.
They joked about it and turned it into a funny story.
Love that.
They didn't take themselves too seriously, and that's a superpower in dating, wouldn't you say?
It really is. I mean, self-deprecating humor can be so disarming.
Yeah.
It shows you're comfortable with yourself,
Mm.
even in those less than perfect moments.
Exactly.
And it signals to your date that, hey,
Yeah.
you're not trying to be someone you're not.
Right.
You're just,
You're human.
you're real.
Yeah, you're real.
You make mistakes, you can laugh at yourself.
It's refreshing.
Yeah,
Honestly, it just makes you more relatable.
absolutely, because who wants to date someone who's always trying to be perfect?
No one.
I mean, come on.
We all have our quirks,
Yeah,
and those imperfections, that's what makes us unique.
I think so too.
It actually makes us more attractive. So next time you find yourself in an oops moment,
Don't panic.
don't panic.
Take a breath.
Own it. Own it.
And maybe even crack a joke about it.
Yeah.
You might be surprised how well it goes over.
You really might.
And even if your date doesn't find it funny,
That's true.
it's a great way to filter out those who can't appreciate a good laugh at life's little mishaps.
Right. I like that. A filter.
Yeah.
Who wants to be with someone who can't laugh at themselves
Right.
at life.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about those wardrobe malfunctions, but what about those oops moments that involve food?
Oh, food.
I know, right?
I feel like food is just like a recipe for disaster.
Especially on a date.
Especially on a date, you're trying to be all suave and sophisticated.
Oh, yeah, you're trying to,
Show off your table manners.
yeah, impress them with your, I don't know, culinary knowledge.
But then...
You accidentally launch a forkful of food across the table.
Or you spill your drink.
Oh, yeah.
Or you get something stuck in your teeth.
Oh, that's the worst.
And you're trying to discreetly,
And they see you trying to discreetly get it out.
Oh, yeah, and they're like, do you need a toothpick?
Oh, it's so bad.
I know, the perils of navigating a meal with grace.
Yes.
I mean, we've all been there.
We've all been there.
I know I have, for sure.
So one of our listeners had a truly epic food mishap on a date.
Okay, let's hear it.
Picture this. A romantic Italian restaurant,
On that.
steaming plate of spaghetti,
That's good.
and then disaster strikes.
What happened?
The entire plate of spaghetti ends up in their lap.
Oh, no.
Sauce everywhere.
Oh.
A scene straight out of a food fight gone wrong.
Oh, I can just imagine the initial wave of panic and mortification.
Right. But here's the thing. Instead of letting the awkwardness take over, they both just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
They turned what could have been a date-ending disaster
Oh, no, right.
into a shared moment of hilarity.
The best way to handle it.
And that, my friends, is the magic of vulnerability.
I love that. You're so right.
When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to let our guard down and show our imperfections, it creates an opportunity for genuine connection.
Yes.
It's like saying, hey, I'm not perfect, and I'm okay with that.
And guess what?
And when both people can embrace that, it can actually be a really bonding experience.
Think about it. You're more likely to remember and feel connected to someone who you've shared a genuine laugh with, even if it's at the expense of a spilled plate of pasta.
Right?
Than someone who's trying to, present this like flawless facade the whole time.
Like they've got it all together.
Like they have it all together.
Like nothing ever goes wrong in their life.
Exactly.
Come on, who are we kidding?
Nobody's perfect.
No one's perfect.
We're all a mess.
Right.
That's what makes life interesting.
It does. Well, what can we learn from these oops moments?
Well, I think, first of all, don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes can actually lead to something special.
Yeah.
And also, don't be afraid to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
A little self-deprecating humor can go a long way in making you more relatable and approachable.
Totally.
And most importantly, I think this is key.
What's that?
Remember that vulnerability is not weakness.
It's strength.
It's strength. It's the key to forming authentic connections, and that's what dating is all about, right?
That's the whole point.
It is.
Okay, so we've had some good laughs.
We have.
About those smaller, like, oops moments.
Yeah.
What happens when a date goes beyond a simple mishap?
Right.
And into, like, truly uncharted territory?
Oh, I like this.
We're about to dive into some stories that will leave you wondering, did that really just happen?
Okay, buckle up, everybody.
Yeah.
Because we're entering the realm of unbelievably awkward dates.
Okay.
These are the experiences that just make you question everything you thought you knew about dating. Like, am I on a hidden camera show?
Yeah, is this a prank?
Is this real life?
What is happening?
Yeah.
Okay, story number 1.
Hit me.
Comes from a listener who experienced what I can only describe as future shock on a first date.
Oh, no.
So imagine this. You're having a seemingly normal conversation, getting to know each other.
Yeah, first date stuff.
And then out of nowhere, your date starts planning your future together.
Whoa, talk about jumping the gun.
Right.
First dates are about exploring a connection, not picking out, like, China patterns,
Exactly.
Or, like, baby names.
But that's exactly what happened to this listener.
Oh, no, really?
Their date started detailing their dream house.
Wow.
How many kids they wanted, where they envisioned their honeymoon.
On a first date.
All on a first date.
I mean, it's almost, like, endearing in a way.
Okay.
Like, they're so excited about the possibility of a future with this person that they, like, can't help but share their vision.
And it also raises some red flags.
I was just going to say, yeah, it does.
Like, where are your boundaries?
Yeah, it kind of suggests a lack of boundaries.
And maybe a tendency to get ahead of themselves a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, like slow down.
Right. It's like showing up for a casual coffee date.
Yeah.
And suddenly finding yourself at a wedding dress fitting.
Exactly.
Like, hold on, whoa.
Pump the brakes.
I thought we were just getting coffee.
Way too fast. Way too fast.
So if you find yourself on a date with someone who's already planning your future together on the first date, it might be a sign to proceed with caution.
I would agree with that.
Enthusiasm is great.
Yes.
But over-eagerness can be a red flag.
Yeah. You want to look for that balance.
Okay, so we've talked about the perils of future tripping on a first date.
Future tripping.
Future tripping.
I like that.
But what happens when you show up for a date and the person looks nothing like their profile picture?
Oh, no.
We're talking about the world of catfishing.
Catfishing, such a fascinating and complex issue. Yeah. It really speaks to the, I guess, the anxieties and the vulnerabilities that we all face.
Totally.
When we're trying to connect with others online.
Online dating is a whole different beast.
It is.
And one of our listeners shared their catfishing experience.
Okay.
And it's a story that really highlights the importance of honesty and authenticity in the digital age.
So important, especially now.
So this listener shows up for their blind date, and the person sitting across from them looks completely different from their profile pictures.
Wow.
It was a blatant case of using someone else's photos to create a false identity.
Like a full-on catfish situation.
Like a full-on catfish.
Wow.
And it's interesting because a lot of times people who catfish aren't necessarily malicious.
No, I agree.
They may be struggling with
insecurity,
social anxiety.
Even fear of rejection.
Yeah, fear of rejection.
I think those are all factors in why people might catfish.
And it's a good reminder that online dating can be a double-edged sword.
Absolutely.
It allows us to connect with people that we might never meet otherwise.
Yeah.
But it also creates opportunities for deception.
For sure.
And misrepresentation.
You never really know who's on the other side of that screen.
Right. So what can you do to protect yourself from catfishing?
Well, first of all, I think you got to trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
If something feels off about a profile, about a conversation, don't ignore those red flags.
I think sometimes we ignore those red flags because we really want it to work out.
Oh, yeah. For sure. We get caught up.
Yeah, so trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
You can also do a little online sleuthing.
That's true.
A reverse image search.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Can quickly reveal if someone's using fake photos.
And most importantly,
what's that?
I think we have to remember that honesty is really the foundation of any healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So if someone's not willing to be truthful about who they are online, it's a pretty good indicator that they won't be truthful offline either.
Exactly.
Catfishing is a reminder that authenticity is key.
Yes.
Both in the digital world and in real life.
It's so true.
And, maybe this is something to think about for all of us.
Oh, okay.
Even if we're not catfishing people.
Right.
Are we being authentically ourselves?
Yeah. Are we showing up as our true selves?
Are we showing up as our true selves both online and offline?
I think that's a good takeaway.
I think so, too.
All right, we've covered some seriously awkward territory.
We have.
From premature future planning to the perils of online deception.
A lot of awkwardness.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
We've got a whole other category of stories that fall under the heading, what did I get myself into?
Okay.
Think of it as the wild card category.
I like it.
Of dating experiences.
The wild card.
You never know what you're going to get.
That's true, that's true.
And one of our listeners shared a story that perfectly captures the sense of bewilderment. So they went on a date with someone who seemed perfectly normal at first, but then things took a turn for the strange.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
So imagine this. You're having a pleasant conversation, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And then your date casually mentions that they're still living with their ex.
Hold on a second.
Why?
That's a major red flag.
All right.
Still living with the ex.
And it wasn't just a passing comment.
Look.
They went into detail about their living arrangement.
Oh, no.
How they divided chores, and all sorts of personal details that were way too much information for a first date.
Way too much.
Our listener was completely taken aback.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, how do you even respond to that?
I know, right?
And I think this is important to remember. You are not obligated to stay on a date that makes you feel uncomfortable.
I was just going to say that.
So if someone is sharing information that's too personal too soon.
Too soon. Too much information.
It's perfectly acceptable to politely excuse yourself.
Yeah, you don't owe them anything. You're not obligated to stay.
So what can we learn from this story?
Well, I think first and foremost, pay attention to those red flags. If someone's oversharing about past relationships, it might be a sign that they haven't fully moved on.
This is a big one.
Yeah.
And it's also a reminder that setting boundaries.
Boundaries, yes.
Is crucial.
Especially in the early stages of dating.
Right.
You don't have to share everything about yourself right away.
No, it's okay to keep some things private.
It's healthy.
And if someone's making you feel uncomfortable, don't hesitate to trust your gut and end the date.
You got it.
You don't need to explain yourself or give them a second chance.
No, you're allowed to leave.
Okay. We've talked about oversharing, unexpected pets, and the importance of trusting your gut.
It's been a wild ride.
Now let's lighten things up a bit.
Okay.
With a story that's both awkward and hilarious.
I'm all for a good laugh.
This one comes from a listener about a date that involved an unexpected trip to a taxidermy museum.
A taxidermy museum.
A taxidermy museum.
That's different, not your typical date night.
Not a typical date, no.
No.
Our listener wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea.
I can imagine.
But they went along with it, hoping to keep an open mind.
Good for them.
Yeah.
You know, got to try new things.
Trying to be open to new experiences.
Exactly.
But even with the best intentions, some dates are just destined to be awkward.
Sometimes they are. Some things you just can't salvage.
So they spent the evenings surrounded by stuffed animals.
Oh, I can imagine.
Trying to make conversation while feeling increasingly uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
So it's a good reminder that it's okay to have different interests.
Yes.
Not every date is going to be a perfect match.
It's true.
And it's perfectly fine to say no thanks to a second date if you're not feeling it.
You're allowed to say no.
You are allowed to say no.
And you should.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling it, don't force it.
Dating is about finding someone you connect with on multiple levels.
Absolutely.
Shared interests, mutual enjoyment.
Sense of humor.
If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it.
You're not feeling it. That's okay.
And that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. I think that's a good place to stop for now. We'll pick up with more unbelievably awkward dating stories in part 2.
Can't wait.
Cheers.
See you then.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of dating, where we're exploring those moments that make us laugh, cringe, and wonder, how did that happen?
We've already heard some pretty wild stories, but trust me, we're just getting started.
Oh, yeah, buckle up.
You guys sent in some truly unforgettable dating experiences, and we're so excited to share them with you.
And, we're not here to judge or make fun of anyone.
Right.
We're all on this dating journey together.
We are.
And these stories are just a reminder that even the most awkward moments can be learning experiences.
Exactly. So let's jump right back in with another oops moment.
This one involves a bit of a fashion faux pas, but with a twist.
Ooh, I love a good fashion mishap story.
They're always so relatable.
Are.
So imagine you're on a date, feeling confident, looking sharp. You reach down to adjust your perfectly styled hair, and suddenly you feel something missing. One of our listeners shared this story. They were on a date.
Okay.
And mid-conversation, they realized they had forgotten to put on their earrings.
Oh, no. That's the kind of realization that could make you want to just, melt into the floor.
Right. But here's the funny part.
What?
Their date didn't even notice.
Really?
They had been so engrossed in the conversation
Wow.
that they hadn't even glanced at their ears.
It's a good reminder that sometimes we stress over the smallest details when, in reality, the person we're with might not even notice.
So true.
We tend to overthink things.
We do.
Especially when we're trying to make a good impression.
Especially on a date.
But often, those imperfections are what make us unique.
They make us who we are.
And endearing.
Right?
It's those little quirks that can actually spark a connection.
I love that.
You know?
I think so too.
And if someone can appreciate your flaws, it's a good sign that they're interested in the real you.
The real you.
Not some idealized version.
Right, not some perfect version that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So next time you catch yourself stressing over a minor imperfection, remember this story.
I will.
Chances are your date won't even notice.
Yeah.
And if they do, it might just become a funny inside joke.
Exactly. Something to laugh about.
Okay, let's shift gears to a story that's a little less about fashion.
Okay.
And a little more about unexpected surprises.
I like where this is going.
We're talking about those dates where you're suddenly thrown into a situation that makes you think, what did I sign up for?
Yes, those curveballs.
These are the stories that remind us that dating is an adventure.
It is.
And sometimes that adventure takes you on a wild ride.
A wild ride.
One of our listeners shared a story that perfectly captures this sense of the unexpected.
Okay.
So they were on a date, things were going well, and then their date's pet parrot suddenly flew into the restaurant and landed on their head.
Wait a minute, a parrot?
A parrot.
Like a full-fledged talking parrot?
Talking parrot.
Oh my God.
Apparently, their date had brought their pet parrot along, thinking it would be a fun and quirky addition to the date.
Oh no, that did not go as planned.
Needless to say, it did not go as planned.
So what happened? What did the parrot do?
Well, according to our listener, the parrot started squawking.
Of course.
People were staring, and they were mortified.
I can only imagine.
It was a scene straight out of a movie.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to make a memorable first impression.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right impression, though.
Right. Maybe not the impression you were going for.
But seriously, what possesses someone to bring a parrot on a date?
I don't know.
I guess maybe they're trying too hard to be unique or memorable.
Yeah, sometimes the simplest dates are the best.
Keep it simple.
Just a nice conversation, getting to know each other.
Right. It's a good reminder that genuine connection comes from shared experiences and conversations.
Yeah.
Not from gimmicks.
Not from parrots.
Not from parrots.
Or any other, unusual pets.
Yeah. And it's also a reminder that pets, while adorable,
I love pets,
are probably best left at home for a first date.
I agree.
Okay, so we've had a laugh about parrots and earrings.
We have.
Now let's dive into a story that's a little more serious,
Okay.
but still full of those what did I get myself into moments.
All right, I'm ready.
This one comes from a listener who thought they had found the perfect match, only to discover a major red flag that made them question everything.
Okay.
So they were on a date with someone who seemed amazing on paper. They had similar interests, great conversation, a real spark.
Sounds promising.
But then their date dropped a bombshell.
What happened?
They casually mentioned that they were still living with their ex.
Wait, what?
Still living with their ex.
That's not exactly a green flag.
No, not a green flag.
Not at all. And they didn't just mention it in passing.
Okay.
They started going into detail about their living arrangement.
Oh.
How they divided chores and all sorts of personal details that were way too much information for a first date.
Way too much information.
It's like they completely missed the memo on appropriate first date conversation topics.
Right, there's a time and a place for that conversation.
Not on a first date.
Not on a first date.
Our listener was completely caught off guard.
I bet.
They were trying to process this information while also trying to maintain a sense of composure.
It's a tough situation to be in.
It is.
You don't want to come across as judgmental.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to protect yourself and your emotional well-being.
Exactly. So what should you do if you find yourself in a similar situation?
Well, first of all, trust your instincts.
Always trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Yeah.
Don't feel pressured to ignore red flags.
Right.
Or make excuses for someone's behavior.
Sometimes we make excuses because we don't want to be rude.
I know, we want to be polite.
Yeah.
But, you got to put yourself first.
You do.
It's also important to remember that you have the right to ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
To clarify anything that seems unclear or concerning.
Totally.
You're allowed to say, wait, what does that mean?
Right. Can you explain that a little more?
Exactly.
And most importantly, if you're not comfortable with the situation, you have the right to end the date.
Yeah.
You don't owe anyone an explanation or a second chance.
You don't.
Okay. We've talked about oversharing, unexpected pets, and the importance of trusting your gut.
A lot of good takeaways.
Now let's lighten things up a bit with a story that's both awkward and hilarious.
Okay, bring on the laugh.
One of our listeners shared a story about a date that involved an unexpected trip to a taxidermy museum.
A taxidermy museum. That's not your average date night.
Definitely not.
Wow. Okay.
Our listener wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea.
I can imagine.
But they went along with it, hoping to keep an open mind.
I admire their willingness to try new things.
Me too.
But even with the best intentions,
yeah,
some dates are just destined to be awkward.
It's true.
Like some things you just can't salvage.
So they spent the evening surrounded by stuffed animals.
Oh, I can just imagine.
Trying to make conversation.
Yeah.
While feeling increasingly uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a good reminder that it's okay to have different interests.
Yes, it is.
And not every date is going to be a perfect match.
Yeah, that's okay.
And it's perfectly fine to say no thanks to a second date.
Yes.
If you're not feeling it.
If you're not feeling it, don't force it.
Dating is about finding someone you connect with on multiple levels.
Absolutely.
Shared interests, a sense of mutual enjoyment.
Sense of humor.
If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. All right, we've had our fair share of awkward, funny, and just plain strange dating stories.
We have.
But you know what? It's all part of the journey, right?
Absolutely. Dating is a process of discovery.
It is.
Both about ourselves and about the people we meet along the way.
And sometimes the most memorable experiences are the ones that don't go exactly as planned.
The ones that go completely sideways.
Right.
Those are the ones you'll never forget.
Exactly.
So embrace the unexpected, learn from your experiences, and most importantly, don't be afraid to laugh along the way.
We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into awkward and funny dating experiences, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive, where we've been knee-deep in all those dating stories that make you laugh, cringe, and maybe even feel a little bit better about your own dating misadventures.
It's like a reminder that we're not alone out there.
We are not alone. We've heard it all, from wardrobe malfunctions to surprise parrot encounters.
And runaway toupees.
Oh yeah, don't forget the runaway toupees.
Yeah.
But through it all, we've learned that dating Well, it's rarely predictable, but it's always a learning experience.
Absolutely.
So are you ready for the final round of listener-submitted dating tales?
Get me with them. I'm ready for anything at this point.
All right, this next story falls into the category of, oops, did I really just say that? It's a reminder that sometimes our attempts to impress, they can backfire. And they can backfire in some spectacularly awkward ways.
We've all been there, trying to sound smart or worldly.
Oh, yeah.
Only to realize we've just said something completely ridiculous.
Utterly ridiculous. Okay, picture this. You're on a date. You're trying to impress your date with your knowledge of geography. You casually mention that you've traveled to all 7 continents, not realizing, of course, that there are only, well, 7 continents.
Oh, no. A geographical gaffe of epic proportions.
Right. And to make matters worse, their date happened to be a geography buff.
Oh, no.
So they politely pointed out the mistake, leaving our listener feeling, well, utterly embarrassed.
It happens to the best of us.
It does. It does. It's a humbling reminder that honesty and humility, well, those are way more attractive than trying to appear like you know everything.
I think so, too.
Sometimes it's better to admit you don't know something than to try to bluff your way through it.
Just be yourself. People appreciate authenticity.
Okay, let's switch gears now to a story that's both awkward and heartwarming.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
It falls into the what did I get myself into category, but with a surprising twist. So our listener was on a date with someone who seemed, well, perfectly normal. And then midway through the date, they announced they had to leave to go volunteer at a soup kitchen.
Wow, that's a curveball. Not your typical date night activity.
Definitely not what you'd expect. Our listener was caught off guard.
I can imagine.
But they decided to go along with it, and they ended up spending the rest of their date serving meals to those in need.
That's actually a really beautiful story.
It is.
It just goes to show that sometimes the most unexpected situations, well, they can reveal a person's true character.
And their values.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that dating isn't just about finding someone who shares your hobbies or interests, but finding someone who shares your values, your compassion.
Okay, we have time for one more story.
Okay.
And this one is a classic case of unbelievably awkward. The kind of experience that makes you want to, I don't know, crawl under the table and disappear.
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Imagine this. You're on a date at a nice restaurant, enjoying a pleasant conversation, when suddenly your date's toupee falls off.
Oh, no. That's a nightmare scenario.
A total nightmare. And our listener said they tried to discreetly point it out, but their date was completely oblivious.
Oh, no.
They just kept chatting away, completely unaware.
The cringe factor.
Right. And it gets worse. Another diner accidentally stepped on the toupee, mistaking it for a napkin.
You can't make this stuff up.
Our listener said they wanted to disappear. Needless to say, the date ended shortly after that.
I can only imagine. Well, there you have it, folks. It just goes to show love can be a battlefield, or at least a comedy club.
Through all the awkwardness, the mishaps, and the unexpected twists and turns, I think we've learned that dating is a journey.
It is. It's a journey of self-discovery, resilience.
And don't forget, a healthy dose of humor.
Lots of humor. So next time you find yourself on a date that's going south, remember these stories, take a deep breath, and try to find the humor in it.
Because even the most cringe-worthy moments, well, they can turn into great stories later, maybe even a deep dive episode.
That's right.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the world of dating. Until next time, keep your heads up, your hearts open, and your sense of humor intact.
And remember, sometimes the best dates are the ones that don't go exactly as planned.